we're talking about it. It is a cold day at that, though, as temperatures are already back into the upper 30s. The good news is we do have some sunshine that's warming us up pretty nicely as we hit the top of the hours. We're at 1 o'clock, so I see some people joining in with us. If you have questions, we're going to break down the cold weather that we have in play as well as the winter weather threat. Zoo Knoxville looking really good. We've actually just hit 40 degrees this afternoon here in Knoxville. So that gives you an idea. We're still warm here in the valley, but you'll see outlying areas, and these numbers will update as we go throughout the Facebook Live. So these numbers may come up just a little bit, but even outside of, the plateau, it's back into the mid to upper 30s already because of the sunshine that we're seeing now. As we head through about 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, that's when things will begin to change just a little bit. We'll see those clouds increasing. Temperatures actually cool down just a bit as we lose that daytime heating, and eventually hopefully that moisture content comes up enough. If you are a snow lover and you want to see some of those flakes flying, that's what we're going to need to have happen as we go throughout the afternoon hours. So 40 degrees right now, Knoxville, 34 Jamestown to Oneida to Williamsburg, 38 Tazewell, Morristown sitting at 37 as well. And here's a look at the radar and cloud track. So this is the big area that we're watching, and what we're looking at, you can see the snow already lining up back to the north and west. That's near St. Louis. That's diving southward with time. The question is going to be what happens as we go throughout the next couple of hours. Does this piece of energy kind of break apart and split around us, or does it hold together? And right now it does look like, at least at the moment, most of the snow is kind of holding together, but you'll see St. Louis, and then it's kind of diving a little bit south-southeast with time. So that's going to head towards Nashville, but there's also going to be some parts that break off that move into East Tennessee as well. And I'm seeing reports out of portions of southern Illinois as well as southern Indiana, back into northwestern portions up towards Kentucky as well, just north of Paducah, of some of that snow beginning to reach the ground. So that is something we'll keep a close watch on. Today it is a little breezy as well. We're seeing those gusts anywhere between, say, 10 to as much as 15 miles per hour, so not nearly as windy as what we saw yesterday, but nonetheless it is making it feel colder out there this afternoon. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it, folks. Let's kind of talk about what we can expect this afternoon as we head through the evening. That's when things kind of get a little bit more interesting. Here it is, 3:30, so about 2.5 hours from now the clouds begin to arrive for areas along the plateau. Now, I'll be upfront and honest with you, we're kind of battling some issues here in terms of what we can see actually reaching the ground. And a lot of that is the dry air in place, and it's also those warmer temperatures. So what may start out as a little bit of rainfall, you'll see initially for areas like Jamestown across to Wartburg, it may not reach the ground. It's going to be what we call evaporative cooling. So temperatures are way above the dew points, which are back into the teens and low 20s. That's a good thing because that means we've got a lot of room to fall in terms of our temperatures, which could translate that rain changing over to a little bit of that wintry weather as we head throughout the afternoon and evening. So here it is, 5 o'clock. You'll see what looks to be maybe some light rain trying to work its way into the valley. At the onset of this, I don't expect it to reach the ground. That's what we call virga. It's basically falling from the cloud top. You can actually kind of look up and see it occasionally, but it's not reaching the ground because the air is so dry. So what that's going to do is kind of cool our air column down, and that may switch it over to a little bit of that wintry weather as we head through the evening. So 7, 8 o'clock, we're past sunset now by about 2 hours. That's, of course, going to help things out as well if that energy kind of works in. So yesterday we were talking about it kind of moving a little bit earlier, say 3, 4, 5 o'clock, which would have been kind of still during that peak heating time that we normally see. Today it's a little bit later on, and that's why I do think we'll see some of those snow showers, Monticello to Jamestown to Crossville, kind of breaking out as we had 7, 8 o'clock. Here it is, 8:30. You'll see that rain kind of transitioning to snow for all of us. I still fully expect us to be above the freezing mark in Knoxville, and couple that with the dry air in place, we get that northwest flow, comes off the plateau and dries us out here in the valley. That's why I do think that ultimately accumulation-wise here in the valley is very unlikely. I'm not going to rule it completely out. If we get a heavier band, it may have a nice quick coating on the ground, but outside of that, I think most areas are fairly quiet. So I see more people are joining in. Thank you for joining me on this Facebook Live. Once again, kind of talking about the winter weather potential for tonight. We'll look at snow totals here in just a moment. But if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer those with you. We can kind of talk a little bit longer than what we're accustomed to seeing on TV, of course. Now, as we head into 10, 11 o'clock, it's a quick hitting system, folks. It's kind of in and out. Now, the exception, northwest flow kicks in. You know the idea. The mountains get hit pretty good with some snowfall. I expect that to continue through the overnight as well. Even Gatlinburg seeing some of that snow flying as we head through the late evening hours. But it kind of tapers off more of those spotty snow showers along the plateau to southeastern Kentucky and the flurries. And eventually, by the time we wake up on Tuesday morning, I think most of it's done for us. The exception, maybe the mountains, a few flurries, or maybe a snow shower still lingering around. With that being said, see, Lori asked what time will it start in Morristown. Good question, Lori. I'll actually back it up for you, and we'll kind of re-talk about this. So there's the wind gust, there's the radar. Let me go back into Futurecast. If you're just joining me, Lori, right now it does look like most of the rainfall and kind of the snow mix starts probably between 7 and 8, I think, for areas up towards Morristown. Once again, the real question is, how deep is that moisture? Anytime we have a clipper system, it's not moisture rich, if that makes sense. It doesn't have abundant moisture like some of these areas of low pressure that move up along the coast and provide our big snows for us. These are moisture starved, and so that's going to be the key, is how much moisture can we get in here to bring us some of that snowfall. But I would say between 7 and 8 o'clock is when some of that moves in, and may start seeing it reach the ground. If you are watching with us and kind of seeing this, if you do see something tonight, please send it over to us. Email us. We'd love to see the ground truth and reports kind of lining up with the radar. That way we can get the word out. And of course, we'd love to share your photos and videos online and on air, like we did yesterday. It was really nice. So no problem, Mr. Wheeler, or Jan there. Heather, hello from Walland. Hey, how are you doing? Let it snow, let it snow. This has got me excited. Alan, hopefully we can get you a little bit of snowfall later on this evening as well. So we'll keep a close watch on that, but I want to kind of talk about the winter weather advisories in place, and this is why I'm saying, don't get your hopes up necessarily that you're going to see a lot of that snowfall sticking, because the winter weather advisories are only out for portions of the foothills and mountains. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see potential accumulation, though, because Jamestown to Crossville to Monticello, southeastern Kentucky, kind of that horseshoe effect, that's probably where we're going to see maybe a dusting, but it doesn't qualify into that criteria of a winter weather advisory. So with that being said, this is from 5 p.m. Until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. 2 to 4 inches of snow possible above about 2,500 feet. Below that, maybe a dusting to a half an inch by the time it's all said and done. Let's see. Joanne says Newport. I do think you could see some snow there. Odds are probably not sticking, maybe a dusting at best, if we do see some of those heavier bands kind of setting up. So with that being said, this is the area that we're most concerned about. I will say that Great Smoky Mountains National Park just put out information that Newfound Gap Road, US 441, as many of you know, it will be closed starting at 3 o'clock today from Gatlinburg over onto the North Carolina side. So if you're looking to head up that way, you better do it probably now rather than later, because at 3 o'clock they're going to close the road down as winter weather is going to be anticipated. So even though the snow may not start flying until later on this evening, kind of getting in preparation, getting everybody out of the park. That way you stay safe there as well. So let's talk about snowfall impact, because a lot of people are going to be asking about this question. Here's a look at the impact. So this is not total, so we'll kind of go into that here in just a moment, but this is the impact level. This is what could happen to us. So you could see the latest computer model runs even though a little bit towards Newport, so that's why I said a dusting to a half an inch. Not out of the question. You're not under that winter weather advisory for that criteria of a lot of snowfall, but nonetheless, this is what we're looking at. Dusting to half an inch along Jamestown to Crossville, Stearns across southeastern Kentucky, maybe another dusting as well, with that 2 to 4 inches there potentially across portions of the mountains. So let's see. Hello there, Seth. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you're all having a great day today. But what are we talking about in terms of totals? So let's put a little bit of numbers on here to show you what we're kind of talking about. Once again, take this with a grain of salt. If we don't get that moisture content up high enough, some of these totals will be cut back, of course, and that's why we want to kind of err on the side of caution. Instead of getting your hopes up, myself, I love watching it snow and enjoy seeing all of it coming down. And that's probably what we're going to see for a lot of folks, rather than it actually sticking. Still got plenty of time during the winter if you want a snowfall out there, but that's just kind of what we're seeing at this point in time. Heading into Southern Valley, Townsend, maybe 2/10 of an inch of snow, so basically just a coating on the grassly surfaces. Same for Chilhowie, Tellico Plains, Etowah, Athens, Madisonville, up to Knoxville. Not really looking at a whole lot there. Let's slide a little bit farther to the west. Clark Range, Jamestown, Oneida, Robbins, Deer Lodge, all probably looking at maybe a dusting to a half inch possible. Not saying that we couldn't get a quick inch out of some of this in some locations if the snow comes down heavy enough. We saw it yesterday. It was above freezing, so snow didn't stick. But it snowed pretty good along the Tennessee-Kentucky line up towards Middlesboro, Stearns. That area came down really good. Appreciate all the videos that our weather balls sent in for there. So if you're watching, we appreciate that. You'll see southeastern Kentucky, Stearns, Williamsburg, Barberville, dusting half an inch of rain, or a half inch of snow rather. So that's kind of lining up good. Greenville to Newport, maybe a half an inch to maybe close to an inch, but you can see those darker blue shadings up higher above Gatlinburg and Hartford. That's where we're looking at 2 to 4 inches of snow up towards areas like Mount LeConte, Kawauhee, Newfound Gap, probably looking at 1 to 3 inches up in there as well. So speaking specifically of the higher elevations, here's a closer look at what we are looking at, and we'll kind of turn this 3D, show you the high elevation dependent change. Look at Mount LeConte, Newfound Gap, and Kawauhee. They're in that darker blue shading. 2-4 inches of snow, so that's lining right up with that winter weather advisory, whereas areas like Sevierville to Newport, Gatlinburg, and Townsend may only get a coating to maybe a ½ inch at best. Catherine asks, are the temperatures below normal for this time of year? What kind of winter do you think we'll have? Well, Catherine, that's a good question. Our chief meteorologist, Heather Haley, just put out a winter outlook for 2024 and 2025. So what we're thinking is that it looks more like a La Nina kind of year, kind of setting up into a weak La Nina. So usually that means below average in terms of our snowfall and sometimes above average in temperatures. And that's what models are kind of hinting at least now. But like I said, last year we were kind of talking about the same thing. It wasn't a strong El Nino year where we usually get a big cold snap and a lot of snowfall and things like that. But it only takes one system because we're going to see periods where it's cold like this, and we are below average. Normally our highs are right around 54 degrees. Overnight lows are right around 34 to 35. So we're going to be below that. Tonight's lows back into the mid-20s. The high today, right around 41, so running about 10 degrees below where we should be for this time of year. So that's a good question. But overall, it does look like we're kind of favoring more so to less snowfall, but all it takes is one system like last year where we picked up 9.5 inches. That's basically double what we get in a given year, and we go above average technically for the year, even though we only had that one snow that actually stuck around. So hopefully that provides a little clarity there. Let's see. Alan says time to run to the store and get some bread and milk. That's definitely funny. I know a lot of people are talking about running to the store and doing that. I don't think that's this type of event, but if you need to run to the grocery store, like myself, yeah, bread and milk's probably definitely on the list just to have around the house, but I don't think we'll see much in the way of any impacts there. So with that being said, that kind of wraps up what we're seeing. If you have any questions, I'll stay on for just a few minutes and kind of go back and show you the snowfall impact map once again for you, and that way if you have any questions you can drop those in. Of course, meteorologist Spencer Denton, he'll be in with me this evening as well, kind of looking through this, and as soon as we see some reports of the first flakes flying, we'll let you know. And if you're out at home and you live in these communities where it does start to snow, we'd love for you to follow us on our WVLT WeatherVols page. That way you can share information with us. You can send pictures to the news station as well as some videos. We'd love to make sure to be able to kind of send those in and show you what's going on across East Tennessee, even if it's not snowing here in Knoxville. I do think a lot of areas outside of the valley do see snow flying later on this evening. So let's see. Emma says anything around Clinton or Oliver Springs. That's a good question, Emma. I do think that you'll probably see some snow flying at times. There may be, if we get some of those heavier bands that kind of set up a quick coating. I think most of us, though, are probably above freezing here in the valley where we shouldn't see too much in the way of issues. Bigger concern would be with some of that evaporative cooling that we're talking about with the dry air in place. That would be along plateau southeastern Kentucky that we could see some issues. So no problem, Emma. Happy to answer any questions that you got. And if you are just joining us, feel free to go back and watch the Facebook Live as well. And we'll have that up for you on the page. So any snow later on this week, I don't expect much in the way of snowfall after today. There could be a few snow showers for the mountain communities Wednesday night into Thursday. It doesn't look like a big deal. And then we kind of warm back up actually as we head into next week. And by warm up, I mean we get closer to average with some low 50s and then a pretty good chance of rain potentially on the way by early next week. And we'll have that for you in that first alert weather app. I already posted that. That went out about noon today. So if you're looking for some rainfall, maybe need some rain around the house, we're tracking out that best opportunity for you. Maynardville, good question, Zach. Maynardville right now kind of looking, generally speaking, maybe some flurries flying, some snow showers. I don't expect a whole lot of accumulation, maybe a quick dusting. Like I said, if we get some of those heavier bursts of snow at times, but it shouldn't cause too much of any issues there. Debbie, what time is it supposed to start? Debbie, I'm not sure where you live exactly, but kind of starting along the plateau, maybe 5, 6 o'clock, shifting into the valley is 7, 8 o'clock, if we can get the atmosphere to kind of moisten up enough to make it reach the ground. A lot of this probably could be Virga. I was looking at some of the soundings from earlier today with the latest models that come in every hour, and they're still showing a lot of dry air in place, so it might be hard to get that snowfall down into the valley floor, whereas areas don't have to go nearly as much. So that's one thing that we look at when we talk about snowfall here in East Tennessee, You got to remember the mountains, 6,000 feet in elevation in some cases. You don't have to have that whole air column necessarily saturated all the way to the surface. It just takes a little smaller sliver to do it, whereas the valley, we got to come down to about 1,000 feet elevation here in Knoxville. So we have to have that column of air a lot more, kind of moistened up in that aspect. Just joined. Is Wallen going to get any snow? Wallen could see some snow showers later on this evening. I don't think a whole lot of accumulation outside of the mountains. Same for Tazewell there. Alcoa, more of the same. Probably some falling, and then kind of tapering off. Grainger County, wouldn't be shocked if you get a dusting maybe potentially by the time it's all said and done. I'll show you this kind of wide map here in just here and kind of show you what we're talking about. This is kind of what we think is most likely to happen based on what the temperatures are at the moment. So with that being said, hopefully that kind of answers your question for now. We'll keep a close watch on this as we head throughout the rest of this evening. We'll have more information coming up on WVLT News at 3:30, 4, 5, 6 for you. And then we'll keep you updated as we head through the overnight as well. We're going to go back and kind of reforecast things, take a look at the afternoon model runs, and that way we can give you the latest updates coming up at 3:30. If you do have any questions, hopefully you can kind of go back and watch this Facebook Live and kind of take a deep dive. We spent probably about 16 minutes or so with you and kind of talked about what we expect tonight. But of course, we're going to have the latest for you coming up at 3:30. Hope you have a safe and warm afternoon. Stay warm out there. It is a little chilly with a frigid night ahead, of course, with some of that wintry weather. We'll have the latest updates coming up. Once again, WVLT News at 3:30.